All right, guys, welcome to the Scent Bubble. I am your host for the afternoon. You'll notice for today's review, we are not sitting in front of my computer late at night with a candle and incense burning. You know what I'm saying? We're switching the content up just a little bit. I don't know how long it's gonna go, but I'm never content on my channel. Just when I get comfortable and the views start rolling in, I like to switch things up because I like to study the behavior of the audience that I serve. And so I wanted to do something during the day and a little bit less production value, just point and shoot, to see if you guys are into that style for the reviews, and just so we can switch things up. I mean, I know the production value and the sound effects and run that intro and all that stuff is cool, but sometimes you need to switch things up. And so today we are talking about a fragrance from the house of Roja, and this is Roja's Vetiver Parfum Cologne. I remember the first time, actually it wasn't the first time, I had smelled the fragrance a couple of years ago, but a couple of months ago I was in LA and we went to the scent room and there were so many niche and independent niche fragrances on the shelf. But I remember when I saw Vetiver Parfum Cologne from Roja, I had to put my nose to it again because Roja makes phenomenal fragrances, really high caliber. Whether you like the fragrances or not, you cannot deny the attention to detail, the balance, and composition difference from fragrances from Roja comparatively to other houses. Now, I will say, being in the scent room, everybody was bringing pure fire from a perfumery and composition standpoint, but nonetheless, I was happy to see an entire line of Roja at the scent room. And Vetiver is my favorite note. If you've been following this channel for any amount of time, you know I'm a Vetiver lover. I'm the type of guy that will blind buy Vetiver just to have it in my collection because it's got to catch them all with me on site with Vetiver. So anyway, I tried the Vetiver Parfum Cologne, which unlike the original, is much cheaper. I think even at discounters you can get them around the $160 price point. This would be Vetiver, Enigma, Scandal, and Danger. Those are all fragrances that sit around the $160 to $200 price point, and then, you know, every other week or so they're going as low as $130, $140. That's for full bottle presentation, no testers type of situation. I think they can even go as low as $120. So that's absolutely phenomenal. I was worried about the performance of those fragrances at first, but research has shown that the performance is outstanding with most of those selections. Now, being a Vetiver lover, I had to try this fragrance, and I had smelled it before and I absolutely love it. I feel like some of the heavyweight Vetivers in the particular style that we're going to look at today would be Guerlain's Vetiver, including all of the above, you know, the Eau de Parfum, the Parfum, the older renditions, and one of my favorite Vetivers of all time, Mancera's Vetiver Sensual. This is a very, actually, let me slow down a second. Vetiver can be rendered in many different forms to create different accords. Sometimes it can smell clean, linen-y, grassy, soapy, super earthy, inky, citric. It's just got a real versatility to it based on how it's extracted. Now in Vetiver Sensual, I feel like this is one of the most commercially wearable Vetivers. It's just, I feel like Vetiver as a lead note still can't be entirely the lead, you know, talking 70+%. I still feel like in a Vetiver forward fragrance, 50 to 60% is the comfortable amount before you have to off-put or counterbalance it with a boost of something else. And then you can jazz it up with your little delicates and stuff like that, but it has to typically have some type of crazy contrast of vanilla, or smoke, or citruses, or florals. And so what I love about Vetiver Sensual is it's this juicy, radiant beam of light. It's like sunshine of various citruses, lime, lemon, grapefruit, bergamot, and that really counterbalances the bitter earthiness from the Vetiver, so that the Vetiver here feels more like a lemongrass kind of oolong cha style base. And then all that citrus just sits on it to create this sunshine, happy, versatile fragrance. Yet you still get the masculinity intact with that very earthy, more modernized base. And so to me, if you're not a Vetiver lover, this for men is just an extraordinary year-round, spring-summer leaning, but truthfully year-round dumb reach to still smell luxurious, and it still has the kind of bravado and prestige of like a Guerlain or a Roja level fragrance. So I say that because of some stuff we're going to talk about a little bit later in terms of my thought process for how I approached this. And so first off, like typical fashion, I'm long-winded in the intro, but we're going to go ahead and get an initial reactions on this Roja Parfum Cologne and see my thoughts on it. I only have like a 1 or 2 ml, and I'm going to show you guys how to make the most of this. Shout outs to Scent Decant, who I ordered from, where you can get really small sizes so you're not blowing your bank on testers and samples. You can still try the fragrance very well and have a full day, sometimes 2-day wearing experience. And it comes with an atomizer on it, so you don't have to rub it on skin and mess up the composition. So we're gonna try this 2 different ways to maximize the juice here. Firstly, I'm not gonna use the atomizer at first. I'm just going to dip the skinny side of my test strip in, and we're gonna let that sit because it's gonna be quite juicy. And then to get a true skin test, I will then use the remainder of the juice on my wrist. And this is because if I was to spray the test strip, I would be wasting juice. Part of the distribution would not hit the test strip, and on 1 ml, you probably have a good 15 sprays max. And so notice I was able to hit my wrist close with 2 sprays. I still have half the bottle left for later. And then we also have this test strip that is thoroughly juiced with the fragrance. So I'm gonna let the arms sit because I wanna kind of see how it pops and if it transitions, if there's anything you guys need to know there. And we'll do an initial impressions and check out my iPad, which I've conveniently brought so we can check out the note breakdown. Again, to me, this vetiver is in the veins of Guerlain's Vetiver, the Parfum or EDP, as well as Vetiver Sensual, and we'll break that down a little bit later. So yeah, this is just a very bright citrus forward in the form of kind of lemon lime bergamot combo. It's this radiant, bright, sunshiny kind of experience on the vetiver with a solid earthy backbone of vetiver that feels like lemongrass. Not literal lemongrass, but what you would imagine lemongrass would smell like. This idea of this little blade of grass earthiness with some lemons squeezed on it. And then just a load of citrus up top. It's the tiniest bit smoky, which creates some class, but it's not so smoky that it leans in incense territory, which is what I like. A little bit of smoke is cool for some masculine backbone and some dimension in the fragrance, but this is essentially bright, radiant, light citrus on vetiver. And it's just classy. It's classy, it's bright, it's presentable, it's modern. Absolutely beautiful fragrance. I've got the notes pulled up here. And on the wrist, it's pretty much the exact same experience from the test strip. However, it goes from light and airy to warm and light. A little bit less airy on skin, which is what I would imagine. So I always tell people, just picture a little bit of amber got ramped up on this. Even though there might not actually be amber, you still get this bright, earthy experience up top. Also, vetiver by nature, even though it's a tall grass, it's oftentimes very woody. So, but I hate to say woody a lot when it comes to vetiver because wood notes like cedar or birch or anything like that has a different scent profile to me than vetiver. So a lot of people describe vetiver as being woody, but I don't really like that comparison because it doesn't smell like woods. It's just woody, you know, almost like the grass sitting on top of some wood or something like that. And so it still comes off very light and very airy. Okay, so I've got Fragrantica pulled up here, and we're just gonna go through the notes. This fragrance got a 4.11 out of 5, so it's creeping into mass appeal territory. However, it only has 566 votes. So in terms of vetiver fragrances, this is not super bought, but we know why, right? Because it's $200-300, and for vetiver, you truly have to be a vetiver lover to want to spend that kind of coin on a vetiver forward type of fragrance. Now, I will say this, a lot of you guys don't know this, but vetiver You guys always hear me say vetiver in the base puts a smile on my face. That's because like 90% of all fragrances have vetiver, at least in the base, to complicate, sophisticate, or ground a fragrance. So on top, we have lemon and bergamot. In the mid, we have rose de mai, labdanum, and jasmine, so florals. And then in the base, we have vetiver, cedar, cedar needles, oak moss, galbanum, caraway, pink pepper, gaiac wood, regular pepper, celery seed, nutmeg, amyris, and labdanum. So if you're looking at that note profile, there's like 20, 30 notes there. I wouldn't really be intimidated by that. Disregard the whole list. Just know very bright lemony bergamot citric top, a slightly floral base to create freshness and the perception of airiness. And then in the base, we have kind of this lemongrass woodsy experience, but it's still quite light and vibrant. This feels very top heavy. All the other notes are just simply creating, complexity. So good. It almost smells like a pure lemon being squeezed on wood from the test strip, but it gets greener on the test strip. This is an amazing versatile wear. Again, any season, any reason, leans, spring, summer, sunshiny type of days. I love it because this is kind of, to me, upscale casual date afternoon. Nightlife, not so much, but again, casual, a rich person's casual, an everyday man's upscale casual, lunch, early afternoon dinner type of vibes, and it is a daily workhorse. The tone of it is playful from the citrus, but serious from the base. So it's kind of got that work and play type of feel to it. Sprays on this, the performance is pretty solid. I think 6 to 8 sprays is going to go at least 8 hours easily. This is the type of fragrance you would smell the next day on clothes, but not like a Dior fragrance, like Dior Homme Intense, where it's just sticky, it's powdery, it's cakey. This is more of a light citric skin scent after about the 8-hour mark. So incredible performance there. Now, let's talk about something that I was thinking through, because I really wanted to pick up vetiver. I'm a gotta catch it all guy. I was gonna pick this fragrance up. I probably still am. But one thing I noticed right away after having all 3 of the fragrances in front of me, that's Guerlain's Vetiver Parfum, the Roja Vetiver, the Vetiver Sensual, is that they're all within 5% of closeness to each other. So like what that means is they're only subtly different by about 5%. To the untrained nose, all 3 of them would feel very, very similar. I think Guerlain's Vetiver is more classical, classy, like French perfumery type of style in terms of the subtle difference. Roja's Vetiver is extremely modern, but still high classy factor where it still feels extremely luxurious. But what I love about Mancera's Vetiver Sensual is it smells just like Roja and Guerlain, but it just has this commercial brightness. It really overkills on the citrus, which is a good thing. A lot of your aquatics and everyday wears, Amberful, Equus, a lot of stuff like that, leans super citric. Even something like Ferragamo's Bright Leather, leading in juicy citrus is great. However, sometimes it's hard to carry citrus because citruses die out the fastest in a composition. But somehow, probably because of the labdanum and a few other elements in the composition, they've allowed the citrus top to really remain through the life of the fragrance on skin. And that is super important because you don't really want to dry it down to just woods. And so this has just the amount of ramped upness of citrus. It's got the complexity, it's got really quality raw materials in here, and then you get 120 ml of juice. Now this on discounter sites typically goes for around the $100 price point, but I oftentimes see it go down to $70, which is what I got it for. A full bottle presentation, brand new, for $70. Now let's kind of measure things out. You can get Guerlain's Vetiver in 100 ml for between $70 to $100. You can get Vetiver Sensual as low as 70 to 100, so they're about the same price. And then Roja, you can get around 130, 140 on the best day. So when you're evaluating these, they're so close that it's hard to justify the Roja, even though it's money well spent, even if you decide to get it. But for me, as somebody who already owns 120 ml, you factor in the price, the DNAs are all virtually the same. To me, $70 for 120 ml of juice is just an absolute steal, and I don't see any need to have one, two, or two or three of these same style DNAs. Once you have Vetiver Sensual, you pretty much can forego Guerlain and Roja entirely. But I do want to state that if you decide to go with either, it's super money well spent. Guerlain's probably number 3, Roja's probably number 2, Vetiver Sensual is probably number 1 for me. They're all very close. If you want more of a classic older gentleman feel, like 40 and up, maybe the Guerlain Parfum is the best choice for you. I do think the Parfum does smell better than the EDP, even though they both smell phenomenal. There's just a little bit more complexity and richness and a little less sharpness out of the Parfum version. So if you're in the market for some Guerlain, definitely go in the Parfum direction, especially since it's been reformulated so many times. If you want to get a Roja, it's sparkly, it's nice, it lasts forever. It's kind of a Vetiver take on a Wulong Cha style DNA, but you know, with Roja, you get the prestige, right? The clout, the bottle, you get the modernness, you get the sparkliness, you get the complexity, and it's still 100 ml of juice, extremely fairly priced, and you get a Roja for $130. I mean, when does that happen, right? If you're for 100 mil, that's insane. But at the end of the day, for me, as an alternative kind of guy, when I'm approaching this from a review standpoint, I would say if any of you guys have ever been interested in Guerlain or Roja, skip the line and find Vetiver Sensual for 70, 80 bucks and get 120 ml of juice, insane 8-hour plus performance, and call it a day. But all three of these are Titan level fragrances. I think Vetiver Sensual gets a perfect 10 out of 10. I think Roja gets a perfect 10 out of 10. And Guerlain really should get a 10 out of 10. Maybe if you're being picky due to the sharpness, you might take it down to a 9. But I think Guerlain's Parfum is timeless. So we're just going to call them all 10s for me. Any other things I might want to go through as far as like super cheap alternatives? I think at this point, the only thing that's even somewhat close to the profile that's cheaper than 70 bucks is going to be maybe like Terre de Hermes. Doesn't matter which one you get. Or even Grey Vetiver from Tom Ford. The lowest I've seen that go for 100 mil is about 100 bucks. This one is closest to Roja's version. Terre de Hermes is kind of more of a remix because it leans on bitter orange as much as it does grapefruit. And yeah, outside of, I think Terre de Hermes you can get as cheap as about 50, 60 bucks for 100 ml. And then obviously the Tom Ford is the Tom Ford. All 5 of those would be redundant to have 2 or more to me. But I'm a gotta catch 'em all guy, and Terre de Hermes with the orange nuance is enough for me to get it. So for me, I gotta get another bottle of Terre de Hermes, and then I have my Tom Ford Grey Vetiver for work specific, and then I have Vetiver Sensual for my everyday, more playful, vibrant citrus. But all of these fragrances are just masterclass Vetivers and are very commercial to me. Everybody can wear them unless you absolutely hate Vetiver. So back to Roja Vetiver to end the review here. Any season, any reason, upscale, casual, any type of dates during the day, formal. It's great priced. The formulation for me gets a 10 out of 10. Roja's Vetiver Parfum Cologne, that is. The price is phenomenal. Alternatives would just be certain little nuanced preferences, but this is an absolute heavyweight Vetiver that I don't see a lot of people talk about, to be quite honest. Everyone talks about Guerlain and Terre de Hermes and Grey Vetiver, and even I have another one, Aqua Allegoria Neroli Vetiver. That one's really amazing. But man, I just don't see enough love going to Roja's Vetiver. You really only see the high-end guys talking about it. So if you're a younger guy or you're just new in your journey, but you're taking a liking to Vetiver and stuff like that, the fact that you can have a Roja in your collection for $130 is nothing short of a miracle. So it's definitely considerable in this conversation. So anyways, like, comment, subscribe. More importantly, turn on that notification bell. I drop episodes every single day. So if you're into fragrance content, dupe, inspired, reiterations, remixes, designers, niche and independent niche, game shows, entertainment, information, my journey, I'm just putting a camera to it. This is the place you want to be. So again, from the House of Roja, this was Vetiver Parfum Cologne, and it is a 10 out of 10 banger. Take care and stay blessed.